Miss J, and now it's story time with Miss J. Exciting, right? Now, today we'll be reading this amazing book by Eric Carle called Mr. Seahorse. Are you excited? That's not all. After reading this book, we will get an opportunity to make our very own seahorses, just like this one. Yeah? Now, I hope you stick around till the end so we can make seahorses together. Now, without further ado, let's get right into it. Mr. Seahorse by Eric Carle. Mr. and Mrs. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea. Mrs. Seahorse began to wiggle and twist this way and that. "It's time for me to lay my eggs," she said. "Can I help?" asked Mr. Seahorse. "Oh, yes, thank you," said Mrs. Seahorse. And she laid her eggs into a pouch on Mr. Seahorse's belly. "I'll take good care of our eggs," said Mr. Seahorse. "I promise." Now, children, as Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by... Hold on a minute. Mr. Seahorse seems a bit frightened. Do you see his face? I wonder why. Now let's open up and see what he saw. Oh, a group of trumpet fish hidden in a patch of reeds. He must be frightened because he's carrying Mrs. Seahorse's eggs in his belly, and he does not want them to get hurt. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Stickleback?" asked Mr. Seahorse. "Delighted," replied Mr. Stickleback. "I just built a nest, and right away Mrs. Stickleback laid her eggs into it. Now, I am taking good care of them until they hatch." Do you see the eggs on Mr. Stickleback's back? Interesting. "Keep up the good work," said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. Now, children, as Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by... Hang on a minute. Mr. Seahorse seems even more frightened. I wonder what's behind this. Let's see what he saw. A lionfish! Do you see the scary lionfish hidden behind the coral reef? That explains why Mr. Seahorse seems so frightened. He looks frightened because he's carrying Mrs. Seahorse's eggs in his belly, and he does not want them to get hurt. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Tilapia?" asked Mr. Seahorse. Mr. Tilapia couldn't answer. His mouth was full of eggs. Do you see the eggs in Mr. Tilapia's mouth? I know, said Mr. Seahorse. "Mrs. Tilapia laid her eggs. Now you are taking good care of them until they hatch." Mr. Tilapia nodded his head. "You must be very happy," said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. Now, children, as Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by... But wait a minute. He looks like he's hiding. He looks kind of scared. I wonder what he saw. A pair of leaf fish hidden among the seaweed. How many are they? 2 of them. 1, 2. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Curtis?" asked Mr. Seahorse. "Perfectly fine," replied Mr. Curtis. "Mrs. Curtis laid her eggs and I have to stock them on my head. Now, I am taking good care of them until they hatch." Do you see the eggs? The teeny little pink eggs. "You are doing a good job," said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by a stonefish hidden behind a rock. That explains why Mr. Seahorse seemed a bit frightened there. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Pipe?" asked Mr. Seahorse. "Couldn't be better," replied Mr. Pipe. "Mrs. Pipe laid her eggs along my belly. Now I'm taking good care of them until they hatch." "You should feel really proud of yourself," said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. Do you see the pipefish? Look at all the yellow and orange eggs along his belly. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Bullhead?" asked Mr. Seahorse. "Tip-top," replied Mr. Bullhead. Mrs. Bullhead laid her eggs and the eggs hatched. "I'm babysitting." "You are doing a fine job," said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. Do you see all the little babies? Wow, that's a lot. Now, children, the time had come for the seahorse babies to be born. Mr. Seahorse wiggled and twisted this way and that. At last, the babies tumbled from Mr. Seahorse's pouch and swam away. One baby turned around and tried to get back into the pouch. "Oh no," said Mr. Seahorse. "I do love you, but now you are ready to be on your own." Now, boys and girls, I really enjoyed this book. Did you? Now, my favorite part was when this little seahorse tried to get back into the pouch and his daddy said, "No, I do love you, but it's time for you to be on your own." You know, it's time for the little seahorse to go out into the sea, make mistakes, learn from them, experience new things on their own. Very exciting, if you ask me. Now, I did promise you that at the end of our book, we're going to make our very own seahorses, just like this one. So for this, all you need is a cutout of a seahorse, some black paper, cardboard paper preferably, for the background. You're also going to need some watercolor or food coloring. If you have some food coloring at home, just mix it in a little bit of water and you're fine. Also, if you don't have all of these colors, the only colors you need are red, blue, and yellow. And you can mix these are the primary colors. You can mix them together to get the secondary colors, to get colors like green, purple, pink, you know, those colors that kids love the most. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. Hello, boys and girls, welcome back. So now we're going to color our seahorse, but before that, I want to tell you a little bit about the anatomy of the seahorse. Now see, this right here is called the dorsal fin. These tiny little spikes you see coming out of the body of the seahorse is called the trunk rings. And this one right here is the eyes. Then we have the nose. This is the tail, of course. So on our seahorse, we also have the tail, the dorsal fin, the eyes, and now I'm going to put the trunk rings on them. But before that, I want to glue my seahorse to the black paper so that it doesn't move around while I work. So I already started here. I want some parts of my seahorse to be blue. Now I want some purple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rinse off my brush right here, and I'm going to take some blue, put it over here. See, that's why it's very important to have the black paper underneath. Then I'm going to take some of that red, mix it up, and there you have it, guys. We have purple. Now, I also want some part of my seahorse to be yellow. Now I also want some part of my seahorse to be green. Now if you don't have green, you know what colors to mix together to get green? Do you know how to get green? Remember, you can also use your markers, or if you don't have some markers, you can use your food coloring from the kitchen. Now, to make green, we're going to take a little bit of yellow, put it over here, and just a bit of blue. Mix it together, and we have green. So even if you don't have green, you can just do that. This green is so pretty. Now I also want some red. Wow, what a beautiful seahorse, right? Now, guys, we're going to go ahead and attach our trunk rings. Now for the trunk ring, I am using little cutout pieces of the paper tape. If you don't have a paper tape, just cut out some pieces of paper, put glue on it, and voila, you have your trunk rings. And just like that, we are done. And so, boys and girls, this is our seahorse. I hope you enjoyed the activity. So, boys and girls, we've done so much today. From reading this amazing book to making our very own seahorses. I hope you had fun. And remember to like and subscribe. Now, this is Miss J, and I will see you next time. Have a lovely day. Bye.